Looks like a motorbike.
Oh, it's a scooter. Scooter. So I was planning to do a lot of stuff on the underside of the bike, but I need a few bolts for the U-joints in here for the kick and the U-joints in here for the centre stand. So we're going to have to get new bolts for those. Just looking at things to do, we can put on the front brake cable. It is a bit nasty in places, so I've got some extra shielding, or I'm about to order some extra shielding. Up in the top here we've got one of these guys that'll cable can sit into. So we've got this adjuster here that needs to go in. So you see right at the bottom I've got the lever here. I found a little bolt to go through the bottom there. It's a bit long, but it's alright. Okay, so we've got a couple of updates. I was waiting on a part to repair the fuel cap. That's now arrived, so we'll be able to do that. I bought some more Vaporust, and I've got this sitting all the way to the brim. So I'm going to let that settle for a while. These guys are in a bad way. So these are the gear linkages. So this is for the neutral. These two blocks here hold in the kick start. So they were a bit rusty and in a bad way, so I've cleaned them up and I'm just waiting for the paint to dry on them. I did punch out this bit, which sits in the center here, and it sort of rotates on it, but this wasn't even moving. It was that bunged up. This wouldn't even turn. It had a split pin in it, but the split pin you can see looks pretty much stuck inside of there, so I need to drill that out. Then that should be good. I'll grease that up and stick that back in there and we can start getting gear linkages working. Next time you see them, they'll be hopefully done. Just finished up with these, painting these stuff, and they look pretty good. They turned out pretty alright, so pretty happy with those. Those are effectively brand new now. We drilled that old pin out there so we can just grease that, pop that back in there. That stuff goes on there, which means that we can get our gear linkages all sorted. So I've got the shifter in here, and then we've got the rod that comes to the front. So there'll be a pedal attached to this end. We need some bolts for the kickstart and the center stand as well, but we obviously don't need those yet to get stuff in working order. So I've got the cap here from the top down. We've got this, and then we've got this section here. So this comes off, we've got this section here, so this is the bottom bit that sits inside. This bit of spring steel sits in the center here and pokes out like that, and this presses into there. So that gives it a spring so that when this is turning around it applies force and locks it into place. But obviously our one's a bit bung. It's in two pieces. What I've got is I've got 0.6mm replacement steel here, and we're just going to trace it out, cut it, and hopefully we can bend that into the right shape that we want. I've just finished sanding this bit down and filing it down, so now we've got the right shape. So you can see that those two line up together. It fits in here just fine. So you can see it's in there like that. So the next stage is getting the right bends on it. So obviously we've got a different bend here. So this one needs to have a dent going in that way. And obviously sideways, both of these ends need to come up. So I've marked out where the bends are going to be based on this guy. So we're going to have 3 bends on each side. So the first one is obviously going to be bending up. So we get this first bend here. And then we've got another bend which flattens that out. And then we'll bend out each of the edges here just with a hammer to get us that final shape. so the next thing is getting this little dent in the end there. So we'll heat this up and we'll just put it on the corner here and bang each side. Alright, so we'll give this a test fit now. So I've got the piece we've just made, and so that obviously just sits in here. We should be able to get that in hopefully pretty easily. Cool. Oh, that actually fits really well, and it is springy. I think I'm pretty happy with that, and it sits in the center just perfectly. So the next stage is placing this center top bit in, press that in, and then this presses in over the top of that. Alright, there we go. Alright, so that's rebuilt. So now that that job's done, that means that we can wait on this to be done. So that'll get all the rust out of there, and then we can seal the tank. We couldn't seal the tank because we didn't have the fuel cap ready, but now the fuel cap is ready. We can seal the tank, and that means that we can get the tank onto the scooter, and once the tank's back in here, that means that we can start putting all the rear stuff on, so we can get the rear shroud and everything on there. We've got a few bits here just in terms of the bracketry for the bottom section. I don't really know where to set this yet, but I think we can just play around with it. But I just want to get it on there just for fitment at the moment. And we've got the neutral switch here. So you would have seen that I've finished painted that. I've cleaned it up all nicely, so I'm really happy with how that's come out. And then we've got the little pin here, so this slides into this part here. So obviously the first part that we're going to do for the neutral bracket, we'll grease this part up, and this will slide in this way, and then we can tidy that off with that washer, and we can bolt this end to the frame. Won't need heaps of grease, but just enough just to make sure we're not going to destroy any parts, wear them down excessively. Chuck the washer on. We've got a split pin which is a bit long, so we'll chop a little bit of that off as well. We'll chuck that bit on there now. So this should sit this way in there, so that this is popping out now that way, and this can just slide in through here. Something like that. We've got a little washer thing, and we'll stick that guy in there. We'll clean this guy up, should be easy with a bit of WD, and then we'll chuck that on as well. That looks better anyway. Let's stick all this stuff, all these goodies back on. Obviously I won't be able to hook it up to the foot control just yet because that relies on a bit of panel to be on. There's a few bits with this. This here obviously just goes into that bar we were just dealing with. And this simply goes on there. Make sure that this little tab comes in the back here because that's got a cable drive for our neutral. Alright, we'll stick this guy on. This bar we can simply put on. A good feature of having the stuff painted after assembly is that you don't need to worry about the washer falling out of place. It's just going to sit there. I think we probably need some washers in there or something just to hold that a bit tighter. Or maybe the looseness is part of the mystique and appeal. It's on there now anyways. It's not easy, but you can change gear. You can take a look here. Neutral, we've got no movement on anything. You can see if we turn the motor over, you can see that's moving. So that's a good sign. So I think that's all I wanted to do for now. Sort of getting close to wanting to put on the big panels. So we might call it at that. I know I've got to do some editing, catch up on that. By the time this video comes out, I would have already caught up on the editing, so that's lucky for you guys. We'll catch you guys around.